Welcome to AMAP View. I am Julia. Our mission is to enable your business to succeed in the Americas and Asia Pacific region. As an entrepreneur or a business owner, you may feel more satisfied and fulfilled, while your life could be always filled with uncertainty, fear, and worry. Do you know resources are available to make the path easier for both entrepreneurs and business owners? Today, we are very pleased to be joined by a representative from the Small Business Administration, Israel Nery. He will share with us what SBA has to offer. This is an organization that can aid, counsel, assist, and protect the interests of small business concerns. Then later, we will have a tax professional, Brunet, who is an enrolled agent and a tax resolution expert. He will explain some of the tax benefits of being an entrepreneur and a business owner. Let's welcome Israel Nery first. Thank you for being here, Mr. Nery.
Thank you for having me here. It's a pleasure to be here.
What are some of the criteria needed for business owners who are seeking help from the Small Business Administration?
Well, thank you for the question, Julia. And I just want to say thank you so much for having us on this show. We hope that we are able to provide insightful information for your viewers. So at the U.S. Small Business Administration, we're the lone federal agency that's responsible for helping small businesses start, grow, expand, and recover. Now, our bread and butter are two main things, although we do offer other things. And one of our bread and butters is government contracting. The statutes in our U.S. federal laws say that 23% of government contracts should be going to small businesses. And our goal in our agency is to ensure that we are able to provide small businesses in that government contracting pipeline that are small, that can partake in that 23%. The other element that we are in charge of is providing access to capital to small businesses. Basically, if a small business goes to a lender for a conventional loan and the lender finds them too risky, we're able to step in and provide a government guarantee, which I'll talk about later, to ensure that that business can still receive the capital that it needs to start or expand or whatever endeavors it deems worthy of pursuing. So for small business to determine for any business to determine whether or not they qualify for SBA services, the first thing they need to look at is at the North American Industry Classification System. And NAICS is what we call it in government speak. And basically what that is, it's a table of industries from everything you can think of, from restaurants to biotechnological firms to manufacturing. It tells you how you can qualify as a small business. If you're a manufacturing firm, it depends on the amount of either employees or revenue that you bring in. If you're a biomanufacturing firm, it can depend on the employees that you have. Examples are a biotech firm. If you have under 500 employees, you qualify as a small business. Some industries in that table qualify as a small business if their income, revenue, is under $38.5 million. So even if some business owners that are viewing this show think that they might not qualify as small business, I would still recommend them to look at that code, NAICS, because they'll be able to provide clarity if they qualify for programs under the U.S. Small Business Administration.
Well, we can see that information on your website?
Yes, you can go to our website, sba.gov, and go to government contracting, and then from there there'll be a PDF that has the NAICS code, and you'll be able to view the entirety of industries, anything you can think of, and you'll see where you fall under, and then from there you'll be able to determine if you qualify as a small business for our purposes.
That's great. So getting funding is most entrepreneurs they desire. However, there's so many business owners they want to apply for it. How long does it take from the initial contacts with the SBA to receiving the funding?
Yeah, so you're correct. From time and time again, entrepreneurs and current business owners state that the number one obstacle in starting or growing is access to capital. And at the SBA, we're trying to make sure that we are an ally in solving that problem. So, for example, one of the things you said, how long it takes, I think historically there's been a connotation when it comes to interacting with the government that it takes a long time. It's a lot of red tape, that it's more of a hassle to deal with than of benefit. I'm here to tell your viewers that that's not the case anymore with SBA. At SBA, we've streamlined over the years to ensure that we're responsive and are able to operate within a time frame that's pretty much comparable with the private sector.
How long? What's the time
So
frame?
for some loans, for some businesses that go and apply for a loan, for example, if you go to one of our preferred lenders, that means they've historically been very active in SBA lending and that their internal controls is deemed prudential, they can actually process a loan and qualify you for an SBA loan within 24 to 48 hours.
Wow.
That is something that probably 20, 30 years ago was not the case.
Who is the luckiest person?
No, we do have a number of examples that have, that have interacted with our preferred lenders and have from there been able to receive the infusion of capital that they need badly. So it can be that fast. It depends on the business, whether or not they have their business plan, their financial projections, and all the paperwork that's required to be able to obtain the capital through the lending institution.
I wonder how many people really know that SBA can help them.
Sure, that's a very fair point, because one of the things we say about our agency is that we're one of the best kept secrets in federal government, and we want to eliminate that stigma. We don't want to keep remaining one of the best secrets in government, because we know that at the end of the day, small businesses are always going to need assistance. Your big businesses always have CPAs, attorneys, and consultants to counsel them as they seek to expand, they seek to increase market share. Small businesses do not. Every day, their focus is, how do I make sure my business keeps being profitable? How do I make sure that I'm able to have a steady stream of revenue, cash flow, that will allow me to pay my bills at the end of the month? And so we want to make sure that we get the word out, and that's why we're thankful to you and that you're able to have us in this show, so that way we can educate viewers, and that the viewers that are learning about this information are able to share that information to their colleagues, to other entrepreneurs that might need help.
Yes, and getting funding is exciting things, but it's related to FICO score, right?
Correct.
So what's the minimum FICO score required?
So some banks, so the thing is with SBA, what we have is we don't necessarily have on paper a minimum FICO score. Now with that said, if someone has a score under 500, we typically don't have a minimum, but with that said, if someone has a very low, under 500, doesn't have collateral, has this history of not paying bills, then that's gonna be a red flag for us, and that's probably gonna be a no on our guarantee. We understand that given the recession that happened 10 years ago, a lot of our business constituents, entrepreneurs, small business owners, suffered from it. They lost their house, they got foreclosed on, they declared bankruptcy, their FICO score dropped because they had late payments, because they were laid off from their job, or whatever might have happened during that time, during that unfortunate economic time. And so we understand that. So that's why we don't necessarily have per se a minimum FICO score. But with that said, we do have requirements. You do have to have some sort of collateral. You do have to have some sort of experience in the business that you're trying to create, right? If you're trying to open a restaurant business, but you've only been a plumber, that doesn't really make sense.
What if they don't have any collateral?
If they don't have any collateral, that's not necessarily going to strike them out from being able to get an SBA loan. At the end of the day, we make it a multifaceted criteria, right? If you don't have collateral, but you're able to provide some sort of funding, right, your savings, or you have substantial experience in the industry that you're trying to start your business in, then those are things we're going to look at, and things that lenders are necessarily going to look at. At the end of the day, it's up to the lender to decide whether or not they want to, first of all, make a conventional loan, and if not, whether or not they're still comfortable making that loan with an SBA guarantee on that loan. And if not, we have various platforms that might be able to help this small business. One of the platforms that we have is called Lender Match. What Lender Match is basically you go into our SBA.gov, you type in Lender Match, and it's basically a repository of lenders that might be willing to look at your business, right? You put information about your business, how long you've been in it, or what kind of business you want to start, what your experience is, where you're located, and from there, your information will be put in a repository for banks that might be interested in your business to see and contact you and talk about, hey, how can we fund your business?
Okay, good. So on your website, there's a statement. It says the SBA helps guarantee some loans that otherwise may not qualify. How does that work?
Sure.
Can you give us example?
Sure, sounds great. No, and that's a very good question, because one of the misconceptions that we have is that we're a direct lender. We SBA, our 7A product, which is bread and butter, and our 504 product, those are not direct loans made by the SBA. The only direct loans that SBA makes is when disasters happen, when presidentially declared disasters are announced. And from there, such as the unfortunate California wildfires, those are the only direct loans that we make directly to small businesses and to homeowners if they qualify. Okay. But when it comes to the actual SBA loan, 7A and 504, you go to a lending institution, and basically, whether it's your home bank, or you can go to sba.gov and see our lender rankings to see which lenders are the most active in your community. And you go to the lender and you say, hey, you need a loan to do XYZ, right. And then maybe because of your collateral or maybe because of your FICO score, they might deem you too risky to give a conventional loan. So then you should ask about SBA lending. Hey, what about an SBA loan? Right. And so what happens with an SBA loan is that depending on the amount, if it's under $150,000, we guarantee 80% of that loan to the bank.
Great.
And if it's over $150,000, then we guarantee 75% of that loan. Now, I do want to mention that when it comes to obtaining loans to help small businesses export, we do provide 90% guarantee. So that basically eliminates a lot of the risk that the bank would undertake if they would make a conventional loan, right?
Do women have a priority to get the loan?
So what we want to make sure is that everyone across all spectrums, women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, are obtaining the information they need, because at the end of the day, what we see is the number one roadblock is the lack of awareness of these resources that exist. So we want to make sure that by being on shows like you, that we're able to promote what we do. That way, if a woman-owned small business requires capital, they don't have to resort to a non-traditional lender that might charge them high interest rates. Rather, there's other solutions that exist to obtain traditional lending with low interest rates.
That's great. So would you like to share business success that the SBA has been a part of?
Sure. So when it comes to SBA success stories, we're never short of them, right? You think of Under Armour, you think of Apple. Those are a couple of big businesses that we've helped. But the type of business...
You did?
Yeah, Under Armour started with a SBA loan. But I want to highlight is a business located here in the county of Los Angeles, particularly downtown Los Angeles. It's called La Fiesta Party Supply. And then the reason I want to mention this is because I just want to highlight non-traditional industries that individuals might not think, oh, like I probably don't qualify for an SBA loan because my business is non-traditional from typical mainstream businesses that are starting up, like startups. No, if you're a non-traditional startup, you can still qualify for SBA lending. So this company was started by a woman-owned business in downtown Los Angeles, and what they wanted to provide was party supplies to individuals doing parties all across Los Angeles County. And she heard of SBA, and what she did is that she went to our actual office and solicited help. We referred her to a women business center in the Valley, and that women business center, which helped her for free, was able to draw a business plan, financial projections, which made her able to go to a lending institution and obtain its first SBA loan. Got its first SBA loan, was able to expand, and then got a second SBA loan to expand its presence in Nevada. So that's a success story that I always like to highlight, because it started off from someone having an idea, actually going to our office, then us referring them to a resource partner of ours, a women business center, for free, which helps small businesses for free. And from there, being able to obtain SBA financing. And today, it's a great success story that we love to highlight, because it's creating jobs, and it's at the end of the day, small businesses are the engine of our economy.
That's great. That's exciting. I am an entrepreneur by myself. I do know the obstacles and challenges facing every day. Now we know more resources, right? That's great. So in what area do you see the SBA having the largest impact on the business over the next 5 years?
Sure. So over the next 5 years, what we sort of foresee SBA having a tremendous impact on is just government contracting and access to capital. For government contracting, one of the main things that's really arising as a need is cybersecurity. Given the hacks that have occurred with with the Office of Personnel Management and other federal agencies, we understand that cybersecurity is a big need. So what we're trying to do is promote that to small businesses that are starting up, that are engaged in cybersecurity, to look into doing business with the government. Because at the end of the day, there's a big demand there for cybersecurity. We're also trying to promote our, at the end of the day, we're still one of the best kept secrets here, as I alluded to earlier. So one of the main things we're trying to ensure is that we get out of that stigma and that we are able to make sure that when we go out to the small business community, individuals do know what SBA is, what it does, and how we can be of help to them.
Thank you, Mr. Nery, for sharing your knowledge and the information that small business owners, they do need. Smart tax strategies also contribute to the success of a business. We also invite an expert in this area today. Stephen, welcome aboard.
Thank you, Julia. Glad to be here.
I know you have been an entrepreneur ever since you were 12 years old. Yes. I believe you fully and deeply understand how taxation plays a critical role in business development. Can you give us an example?
Absolutely, and thank you for that. I've been on both sides of the fence, both as an entrepreneur and now doing tax resolution, tax prep. So it's really important for you to always keep in mind what are the tax consequences, whether you're hiring people or your sales, are you doing estimated payments, are you doing payroll? And if you're running a business and you're not doing payroll, then you end up with a big tax bill at the end of the year. Wow. So tax planning is very crucial in running a small business.
Okay, so we start a business, we need to register a company. There are many ways to register a new company.
Absolutely.
LLC, S corporation, sole proprietor. Which way is the best in terms of tax liability?
Well, I'm going to sound like a lawyer, but it depends. Because if you have a manufacturing company, you might be a C corporation because you're manufacturing and storing and shipping products. If you're a service-oriented company, you might want to be a sole proprietor or a S corporation. The difference being a sole proprietor, S corporation, LLC, they're all what you call pass-through entities. So all the net income runs down to your personal income tax, your 1040. Whereas a C corporation, it's a total separate entity from your Social Security number, and you can actually keep retained earnings, keep money or assets inside that corporation, inside that entity. So it depends on what your end game is. What are you really interested in the long run?
Do you have more details to provide?
Absolutely. An LLC can be a sole member, so it's single member, it passes through the 1040. If you have two members of the LLC, then it's a partnership. Then you're going to file a 1065 partnership return. If it's a S corporation, you can have up to 100 shareholders, and it's also going to be a pass-through entity, and you're going to deduct all your expenses, and then you're going to have what's left over on a K1. And if you have 5 people in the S corporation and they each get 20%, 20% of the profits or the loss are going to end up on the K1, which then is reported on your 1040. So it can be really beneficial, actually. One of the reasons to have an entity such as a C corporation is with the new tax laws, the rates have been slashed to 21% for a C corporation. Previously, you were paying upwards of 39%. So all those people out there with C corporations are going to love it because they're going to pay 21% on $1 and 21% if they're making $500 million. So this is one of the advantages that Trump has instituted since he took office, and it's definitely going to help people with C corporations. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see a lot of entities, S corps and LLCs, converting to C corporations as a result of this new tax law.
That's good. So, Stephen, how would you suggest to keep accurate records to avoid audits for small businesses?
One, I would say keep everything. One of the big faults of entrepreneurs and business owners, small business owners especially, they want to wear all the hats. So they want to do the accounting, they want to do the ordering, they want to do the delivering, they want to do the manufacturing, they want to do the sales, and they don't delegate. Especially for men, they don't ask for help. So,
but what if they don't have enough capital to hire someone else?
Well,
they have to do by themselves.
And I've had those clients come to me
Right.
who've done it themselves and have really messed things up, to put it nicely.
Right.
And they come back to me 2 years later and I amend their taxes because they've done a horrible job, and then they didn't know they were supposed to be on payroll, and so then they're on the radar with the IRS and with the state. And I don't believe any business that starts cannot afford a bookkeeper, because you can spend money on a bookkeeper, whatever it's going to cost you, and then you have time to go spend your time on what you do best. Maybe you're best at sales. Maybe you're best at recruiting people. But spend your energy where you're good, not in something you don't know anything about.
Okay, sounds great. That's a lot of information. As an entrepreneur and a business owner, we also want to know what's the efficient way to cut the cost. I think that's definitely related to the tax strategies. What are other smart tax strategies would you suggest for our audience?
Well, as I said before, keep all your receipts, have accurate bookkeeping, pay your estimated taxes, or put yourself on payroll during the year so you don't end up with a big problem at the end of the year. The other strategy is seek professional help. Don't try to do everything yourself. Find out what you're good at and focus on that, and then start filling in the gaps where you're not.
Any more?
Sure. Like with S corporations, they're pass-through entities, and you can thank Trump. They've changed the tax laws. And now for everybody that has a sole proprietor, LLC, S corp, the first 20% of profits next year when you file, you won't have to pay taxes on, up to $150,000. And then it will slowly go away up to $207,000, where it totally disappears. But that's going to be a really big boost for the economy. That's going to help your SBA clients as well.
Okay, great. I have a question for both of you. Businesses are always running the obstacles, facing challenges. If a small business having difficulties in the middle of business operations, like increasing cash flow, everybody wants that.
Sure.
What are the options available?
I'll go ahead. I'll take a bite at that one. One of the things is they can look at where the 80-20 rule, where is 80% of their income coming. It's usually in 20% of their clients. So they can focus on expanding on that and also getting referrals from those specific clients. And look at where you're spending money that you can cut those costs.
How about you?
Yeah, so I'm gonna start very general and then get very specific. So from a general perspective, when your business is encountering problems, or during the process of starting up a business, you're starting to encounter problems, one of the things we have at the SBA is resource partners that provide free assistance to small businesses. We have SCORE, we have something called Small Business Development Centers. We have what's one thing I alluded to earlier, Women Business Centers.
Right.
We have Veteran Outreach Business Centers. And all these centers provide assistance to small businesses that need it for free.
Excuse me, Israel, could you tell us what SCORE is?
Sure, SCORE is basically individuals that are volunteering for this organization that are formerly retired executives, former successful entrepreneurs that want to give back to the community by being mentors and providing assistance to small businesses. So
All the advice is for free.
yes, and it's all for free.
Awesome.
And it's all free.
Cool.
And at the end of the day, what this does is it provides you with another perspective that you might need to see what your business needs. Maybe your business is in need of capital financing. Maybe it needs a line of credit. Maybe it needs something else. But at the end of the day, seeking assistance from these resource partners will point you in the right direction. And hey, maybe they'll point you to Steve here.
Awesome.
I believe our audience are very much informed by both of you of the resources available to start and operate a business more efficiently. Thank you so much for both of you for sharing the knowledge and your experience and your wisdom. It was amazing. I think we also needed to have some fun.